Hi guys, this is Awesome John 22 coming at you with another review. We are looking at today the West Coast Avengers 3-pack. As you can see, my lighting is a little better since my last review. I have been working on my lighting. It's still not perfect. I still don't have a true lighting setup, but I think it's getting better with pretty much every video. So that's something to, I guess, take away from this whole process. I am learning, guys. Yeah, so we will be able to get a much better look at these guys than we did of Superman. And honestly, that's fantastic, simply because I wasn't really all that worried about doing the Superman figure any justice. It was more of a casual review. This is a much more serious review because these are much more serious figures to my collection. I may have mentioned this before, and if not, it was in my collections video. I obviously collect Avengers figures. And not just movie Avengers figures, which I do collect those, but no, I collect any character who has ever been an Avenger ever in the 3 3/4 inch scale from the Marvel Universe line or any lines of comparable scale. I also collect Spider-Man, but that's completely beside the point. These guys, I am so happy that they made this set because these guys, I just don't have them. I mean, I have a version of War Machine that's a comic book series War Machine from the Iron Man 2 line. But to be perfectly honest, it's not a very good figure. I don't have Hawkeye. Instead, to fulfill my need for Clint Barton on the shelf, I've been using Ronin, and frankly, I don't like Ronin very much. And I don't even think they've come out with a Mockingbird figure yet. So when I saw these guys, I was ecstatic. I didn't even know this was coming out. I saw it, I picked it up immediately. It cost me right around $29, I think. So not too bad. It's about $10 a figure, which is about what they run on the shelf. It's actually, I think, a little bit less than what they run on the shelf. And these guys are fantastic. I've never done Marvel Universe figures in a review so far. So I am going to take some cues from some of the greats out there that I've seen do this on YouTube already. We are going to look at first paint, then mold, then articulation, and then accessories. And I'm going to start with Hawkeye. We're going to zoom in here. You can see paint on this guy is pretty much superb. I mean, you've got a little bit of a roughness here by his face, but his eyes look good. There's really no bleed between segments of his arms. There's really no scratches or smudges. Going back up, you can see the detail on this guy. And I don't know if he's a direct re-release of the old single-packed Hawkeye or if he's a remold or what. This guy looks good. You can see he's got some scale mail, some link mail. His crest is well sculpted. You can even see the H there on his head. He's got a little smirk, which is fantastic. As far as the look of this guy, I couldn't really be any happier. Hawkeye is one of my favorite characters. He's such a smartass. He's got no powers, and yet he is on par with characters like Iron Man or Captain America. He's just amazing. It is a Marvel Universe figure, so superb articulation is to be expected. In and out, forward and back at the hips. Double jointed knee. Rotation below the knee at his boot, which is very cool. Rotation at the wrist. Elbow. Bicep, and full shoulder articulation. And his head is on a ball joint, though it's a tight ball joint that doesn't really allow him to look up or down much. He can do a full 360 rotation at the neck with a little bit of work, because like I said, it is tight. And then he does have an ab crunch, though you're not going to be using it much because he has this harness thing on. Accessory-wise, he comes with a quiver of arrows, which are just molded in. They're not individual arrows, and then one individual arrow and a bow. And as you can see here, I did take one of those plastic bands that come with the figures and fix the arrow to the bow so it looks like he's getting ready to shoot it, which I love the way this hand is sculpted, because that is pretty much how you would hold your hand if you're getting ready to fire, if you're drawing back an arrow to fire it. I'm not a huge archer, but I have done archery before, and that's pretty damn close, and I just love it. Not just because it's a great figure either. Now I finally have an affordable Hawkeye for my collection. I didn't get into collecting Marvel Universe until this guy, well, the original release of this guy was already very hard to find. So, I mean, this is just great. I feel really lucky to have come across this. Next, we're going to take a look at Mockingbird, and I'm going to set Hawkeye over to the side. We're going to look at Mockingbird here, who is a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent affiliated with the Avengers, and I believe actually a romantic interest for Hawkeye. You can see she's holding her trademark stick weapons, which can connect together via this peg here. Her paint is almost as good. There's some details like this here where it bleeds into black a little bit, and that is unfortunately something I saw on every version of this that I came across at the store. All of them seem to have that problem with a little bit of paint bleeding into itself. But otherwise, she looks great. Her face sculpt is probably even better than Hawkeye's. That'll focus. See, her eyes are very well painted. Her mask looks great. Her hair looks great. Very well detailed and very well painted. She just looks very good. I think current versions of her usually give her a blue and white costume rather than a black and white costume. But I really like this costume. I think it looks good on her. As far as articulation, it's exactly the same as Hawkeye's, except that rather than a ab crunch, she has an ab rotation only. So I'm not going to get into it, mostly because I like this pose. The only limitation is she can't rotate her head very far because of the hair. But we all know that that's something that happens with these types of figures, so I'm not going to really whine about it too much. Sorry, had to adjust myself there. In terms of accessories, you can see, I already pointed out, she does have her stick weapon, which is very classic Mockingbird, and I love it. I think it looks great. She just looks great. I don't know what mold they used for her, but whatever body mold they used for her just does her so much justice, and I really like it. Now on to, as much as I love Hawkeye, as much as I love Mockingbird, probably my favorite figure in this set, War Machine. War Machine. I love War Machine. I mentioned I do have a War Machine figure, but it is not nearly as good as this. This is just fantastic. And I'm going to adjust my light a little bit. You can see the paint, the white paint is actually metallic, and there is metallic flake in the black paint. His weapons have these fantastic effect pieces for his machine gun here and for his missile here that are probably the best effect pieces I've seen outside of like a serious collector's figure. I'm trying really hard not to just gush about this guy. So I'm going to move on to articulation. Limited ab crunch. Limited in and out movement at the hips. Very tight joints, by the way. Double jointed knee. No rotation in the leg at all, except right up here. And again, it's pretty limited. Some very restricted movement in the ankles. In and out movement at the shoulder. These shoulder pads do get out of the way. some rotation at the elbow and some rotation at the wrist, as well as elbow articulation. See, he's got little guns on his hand. That's so cool. Moving up to his head, while I move these fully articulated weapons to his back, his head does rotate, though it's hampered by the design of the figure, and I cannot get it to move up and down, though it is on a ball joint, I can tell. And I did mention his weapons are fully articulated. They do rotate. They do slide back into a stationary position. This guy is just the boss, man. He is so freaking cool. He's got great detail on him. You can see he's got the mechanical bits on his chest. This is kind of the War Machine without the reactor in the chest design that we got a lot before the movies made it otherwise. I'm just going to stop myself here. I'm going to start gushing. Yeah, West Coast Avengers. They fulfill a need for me by allowing me to get my hands on figures for a collection that I've been working on for a long time. And now Clint's not going to stand up, is he? Because I moved him. There we go. So I'm just going to be really happy about these guys anyway. But they are also genuinely good figures. All of them have great paint, with the exception of a couple spots on Hawkeye and Mockingbird. All of them have fantastic detail. All of them have some pretty cool accessories that all do something relatively, good, rather than just sitting there. I cannot recommend these guys enough. The price point's fair. From what I could tell, they're actually pretty readily available. The Toys R Us I found these guys at had like 5 other ones in stock. Unless they just came out like this morning, they seem like they're going to be figures you're going to be able to find relatively easily. So if you are at all into the Avengers, or you like any of these characters and just want to have them and don't mind, having the others as well, I recommend you check out, picking these guys up. I don't think you'll regret it. This is Awesome John 22 saying I will talk to you next time in my Beast Hunters Optimus Prime review.